delivering on it. And so number one is conversion rate. This is like, if you had nothing else, this would be worth it. If you could 4x the amount of people that bought your stuff at a specific price, that would give you a material advantage over everyone else. But branding doesn't stop there in terms of its business benefits. The second is CTR. Now it's like, okay, what does that really mean? So it's actually conversion rate again, but just earlier on in the funnel. And so let's say, again, you have eyeballs. You've got people who see your promotions in whatever way you advertise. So that could be making content, that could be outreach attempts, responding to emails, basically the number of engaged leads. Having a higher click-through rate means people take the first action. They then convert on a landing page or a Shopify page or whatever. They're either buying a product or they're scheduling a call. And then on the call, they have a higher conversion rate as well. And so basically you can think about this as conversion rate throughout the entire process, from the beginning to the money. And then obviously if you continue to do a good job on resells, repurchases, etc. So let's say that generically at -1 and then 0 and then plus, here you might have a 0.5% click-through rate. And then here maybe you have a 1% click-through rate. And then maybe here you have something like a 3% click-through rate. And this is super standard. Like this happens all the time, especially if you're going after markets that already know who you are. When I launched my leads book, we had never run ads before, and so this was all novel, and there was a past history of the first book. So the first book has, I think, like 26,000 5-stars at the point of making this video. There was a lot of anticipation for the second book, and so the CTRs were like 6% for our ads, and so people were signing up for the book launch for something like $1, which is crazy. And I'd never had anything like that before, especially at scale. And so I was like, man, these are some of the benefits of building trust with an audience. And so from the conversion rate perspective, if you think about those guys who bought at the ALN launch who weren't even presented the offer, they just found out that I had something to sell. Those are people who otherwise in a neutral or negative business certainly wouldn't have purchased. They would have either needed to be convinced if they were neutral, or they just would have not wanted to buy to begin with if they were at the negative side of the spectrum. That's how you can just demonstrate visually what the experience of having a higher conversion rate looks like. More people buy when they're presented with the offer. And I'll give you another really tactical example. My offers book on Amazon, the actual page itself converts at 30%. So basically a little bit less than 1 out of 3 people who visits the page buys the book. Now, I think there's a variety of reasons for that. One of them is that many people who go there got referred via word of mouth, which we'll get to one of the big compounding things from that later. But the second thing is that even if you don't have word of mouth, when you have, a 4.9 rating and you've got 26,000 people who rated it that, then you have high confidence that it's going to deliver at least a decent product. Now, the third big brand benefit is price point. And so this is one that I think is probably more commonly touted. And Warren Buffett describes it like this. He says, if you have to say a prayer before you raise your prices by 10%, you have a bad business. And so the idea is that if customers love your product, they will be more willing to pay a premium to get it. Rather, they are paying down the risk of buying somebody else's product. And so they buy your product with the existing promise, and then the extra is basically their insurance that they pay you, knowing that they're going to get exactly what they expect. I can't overemphasize how important it is to pay down people's risk. Like, risk is one of the 3 primary levers in terms of value creation. And so this is why McDonald's, for example, even though their product in and of itself is not that good, it is consistent. And consistency in and of itself reduces risk. And people just like to have their expectations met. Now, what's interesting about this is that to meet everyone's expectations, it means that you'll have to go really high, because some people have high expectations, some people have medium, some people have low expectations. And so if you want to meet the expectations of a large percentage of the audience, you will have to try to over-deliver, when the people who are the most demanding, you will simply have delivered. Now, other people you will have over-delivered for. But I think this idea of like, you're always going to over-deliver, I don't think is true. I think you just have to try as hard as you can, and a larger percentage of people will be satisfied. Now, with this price, in any competitive market, if you can raise price by, let's say this is your revenue, and this is your profit before. So this is our neutral brand versus our plus brand. Okay, so let's say that they have the same base economics. So the cost of doing business is the same between these two businesses. But this business can simply charge 10% more. By doing that, they basically double the amount of profit that they're able to make as a result of their brand. There's one more point that makes brand make you even more money. And it just took me way too long to realize this, because I got really good at marketing and sales early, And I came at it from the perspective of like, I just need to go find more people. When it's so much more profitable to find the existing people that you already have done business with, and they want to continue doing business with you.